Yeah, I'm going to make sure that we all get introduced. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with, this is Valerie, who you must have directed the first workshop. Is that right?
First or second. First or second.
And then you did the production. So
it took me almost 20 years to do the production.
we were going to do it at UW. Why didn't we do it? What happened? I
don't remember.
We talked about it first thing.
It was sort of the fates. Like I had
I think so.
But then I got to do it last year, which was very exciting.
Yeah.
I got to do it partly because Paula posted how much she loved the play. And I said in the comments, someone should let me do it sometime. And then Intiman Theater here in Seattle said, you should do it. So that's how it happened. It's
that's great.
Paula, for this play.
I love the play, man. I'm like Bulrusher. I'm persistent. I don't let it go. Yeah. But I just, this vision of it. So let's see, we're up to 91.
Holy moly.
Holy moly.
Holy moly, Carson Kreitzer.
This is great.
So many great people.
People are saying this made me feel the closest to live theater since the pandemic began.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
People are thanking all of you on chat and during the show. It was great.
Eisa, oh my God.
I had to take a moment. Please.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I was just crying and just take a moment.
Yeah.
You all were just so fantastic. You're really fantastic.
What a beautiful, beautiful job. I think you may have yet another calling.
Oh my God.
To add to the roster of your amazing gifts.
Really?
Here, you know?
Well, I have to shout out Sue right now, immediately.
Yes.
She was my running buddy on this. Sue.
Whew.
Sue did all of the video, like the amazing title cards and all of the moments when Bulrusher was talking to the river. And also when she's reading people's water. And so we just got to have this really beautiful collaboration over this time of putting this together. And so I just have to give it to her for really giving this a really powerful kind of surprising character. And
totally.
Sue, come on now.
Thank you.
Seriously, pat yourself on the back.
Vision, though, you really had
to just the river.
You were amazing. It was just, there was a synergy there that Eisa noticed, and it was so fun. It was amazing to see. I just purposely didn't watch the very last cut because I wanted to see it live.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Yeah,
I think this really raises the bar in terms of what a reading can be. Okay, we now have 102 participants, which is wonderful. I want to welcome everybody and say thank you for joining us. And what we are going to do is we're going to start with a discussion with these three amazing artists, open it up with the cast, and then open it up to comments or questions you may have on chat. I'm Paula Vogel. I'm so proud to be a part of this gorgeous, glorious evening. I'm so happy also to introduce you to three beloved colleagues in our field who have been working in the vineyards for some time, making art. And just Valerie Curtis-Newton, who is artistic director of Lorraine Hansberry Project, heads directing and acting at University of Washington, has directed all over the country. And Todd London, who has been a fierce advocate of new plays and playwriting and the American theater, and has done so much for the field. and is now heading the playwriting MFA at the New School, and is a writer as well. And then, of course, Eisa Davis, and I'm here. I'm running out of fingers to count all of her incredible gifts: performer, singer, musician, playwright, and now director. There is such a synergy that was created in 25 hours with this cast, with Sue, the beautiful guitar playing and the music that you gave us. So I'm going to turn this over to Todd, and let's start talking. What a delight. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, and thank you, Paula, for making this happen. My God, I've loved this play for so long. Yeah. I've carried this play inside me for so long, as I know so many of us have. And, you know, saw readings, saw the production, was it 2007 at Urban Stages? And just the chance to see this now with this extraordinary group of actors, just unbelievable. I keep thinking, is there a Buntling word for what I feel? Because what I feel is so complicated. It's like, I don't think I've felt such delight in the last 6 months. I don't think I've felt so much. I certainly haven't been moved by a piece of theater in this way since long before the pandemic. And it's just so deep and rich and complicated. So thank you, Eisa and Eisa, the director and the playwright, and Sue and cast, and really Paula for bringing it to the gate. So just great. I'm excited to talk to you guys, and Val, my old friend and colleague from Seattle. I guess I'm going to start with you, Eisa, because everything does start with you here tonight. I wrote down what Paula said at the beginning. She said, sometimes the beloved comes to you speaking another language. And then, you know, there's the opening of the play, I was born into a new language. And, you know, and I know this is so much a part of both the work on the play and the origins of the play. But I guess it, you know, it's a birth story, and I want to know about the birth of this play. So origin story.
Yeah, there's a lot of, as I said in the little teaser, you know, the little video introducing the play, that there was just a huge burst of love that made this play, that brought this play into being, that birthed it. And something I was realizing as I was watching it, and this is actually something else that Paula was pointing out in one of our conversations over this process, was the way she put it was how wonderful to see men who mother. And I actually wonder if, Todd, if you're one of those people that you've mothered so many of us as playwrights, and just what you've done in the field and advocating for theater, capital T. There's a really powerful experience that I had with my father. I didn't grow up with him. He and my mother got divorced when I was 1. And I didn't get to know him until, I guess it was sort of around, I was like 28 or so, where we started to actually have a relationship. And the summer before I wrote this play, I went on a road trip with him. It was short. It was from here. I took the train down to DC where he was, and then we drove down to North Carolina, which is where he was born, Buckleberry, North Carolina. Tobacco leaf fields there, and where my grandmother, his mother, lived at the time. And something about that experience, taking this road trip with him, all of my anger that I had toward him at not raising me, not being there for me, and his apology just started to melt something in me. And I realized I could actually have a relationship with him, and I could start to get to know more of who I was as a person. And so my sister, actually a niece, one of his other kids, I think is watching this now. And I don't know if she knows this whole story, but after that experience, I feel like so much in my life shifted because I just suddenly felt that this armor that I'd been carrying around, this anger, just kind of started to fall. And I felt that there was a new possibility for love in my life that I never really experienced before. So there's that. And then there was like, I had a huge moment of a huge burst of love for a woman, like when I was 24 or something, that just kind of shocked little cishet me. I was like, how did this happen? And she was straight too. So we were kind of like, what do we do about this? Nothing. But I still had this feeling. And I think that that's what is embedded into this play. So that was very personal. And that's where I think that's part of the deep core of where the play, you know, began to turn inside. And then of course, everything that is in my world, all of my family and friends in the land in California, all of that just began to people the world and be animated through this feeling.
Thank you for being so, you know, so honest about it. And it, you know, as you're talking about it, because if I knew those things, I don't remember them. I mean, I remember your meeting with your father, but I didn't remember it as the genesis of the play. But I have a feeling with this play, it's working on so many levels of revelation and feeling. I remember hearing once, I think it was Wynton Marsalis talking about Miles Davis, saying that the thing about Miles Davis is that there's more information in each note than anybody else. You know, and I feel that about great works of art, and I feel that about Bulrusher. It's like, you know, there is the fathering, and there is the discovery, and there is the love, but there's also this kind of mirroring, seeing yourself in other that I wonder about too. And that, I mean, to me, one of the most extraordinary moments, I think maybe in any play ever, is the meeting of Bulrusher and Vera, coming from such different, complete innocence, and the flippedness of, you know, the Southern girl coming from the city, and the Northern one being from the country. So I guess I'd like to keep probing at the genesis of it too, because I also seem to remember around this time you were doing sort of folklore research and on the trail of Zora Neale Hurston a little. So I'm wondering about discovering the language, the Bootling. What more can you tell us? Keep answering.
Yeah, well, you know, actually, wait a minute. I'm going to show you something here. Since I'm in my house. So I walked into a vineyard in Mendocino County, and I found this book. So I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So he was by Charles C. Adams, and he was a grad student at Berkeley, I believe, and then he discovered the language just kind of like I did, just stumbled upon it and started interviewing people, and this was his grad thesis, which became a book. So I found this in a vineyard. And then that just, I mean, it's got, you know, like all of, you can't see that, but it's got all of the words, you know, that I got to use in the play. And it just excited me, you know, because it was the exact same kind of creation of slang that I used to do as a kid. And, you know, I come from Berkeley, Oakland, you know, everyone says, oh, that's hella funny, or, you know, that's so icy, or you so fresh, or that's booming, you know. And this way of creating language to define who you are as a person, and then also as a group and as a place, I just was turned on by that, you know? So yeah, I mean, and Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes, the very first full play that I wrote is about them writing their play Mulebone, which of course is just littered with so much beautiful, beautiful language, right? And that's my thing. Like I just get, I get so excited when I hear, you know, the way that people can just be so fresh, like inside of a sentence, you know, and what gets encoded into that sentence, right? So yeah, I mean, I would say that that's a huge part of it. And then also, you know, the play takes place in 1955. It's on the eve of what we know now as, you know, the mid-century freedom movement, civil rights movement, you know, the killing of Emmett Till, and then the Montgomery bus boycott that began December 5th, 1955. And so there's this, I think it's a very similar feeling to where we are right now, where people said, I'm not taking this anymore, you know? And I think what Vera and Bulrusher find in their encounter with one another is both of the reactions that you can have, you know, to systemic violence, is that you can either take revenge and just, you know, share that violence right back. And you can also find another route of nonviolence through true acknowledgement and reconciliation and acknowledge, I mean, it's just all of the things that we're in right now, all these same questions. And I think that what the play is saying is actually that both of these are needs. We have a need for revenge and rage. And we also have a need for being, for sustaining ourselves and finding a kind of love. I actually, there's Ruby Sales is someone who has this quote, and I just want to share it with you right now. And if I can find it, love is not antithetical to being outraged. And so I think there's a false dichotomy between that, you know, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X dichotomy. It's just not, but I think that that's in this play very much. And also I think between the relationship between Bulrusher and Madame is the kind of way that racist violence is something that we internalize and turn on one another. So yeah, I could talk a lot more, but I'm going to stop right there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that it's such a beautiful and painful turn at the end to this Native American sort of excised culture and killed culture that we've been hearing about throughout suddenly comes to life in Madame's voice and in the name and in the story. It's really extraordinary. Is that something that you were aware of growing up in that part of the country? Were you aware of the indigenous history that you were living on?
A tiny bit. You know, I knew, like right now I'm in Lenape-Hoking, right, land in Brooklyn, and I knew in the Bay Area I was on Ohlone land. And it wasn't until really discovering the world of this play that, you know, I found someone whose aunt was the last living speaker of Pomo, which is the language that Madame speaks at the end, and the tribal nation that she's from. And they are very much alive and kicking in Mendocino County, the Hopland Band of Pomo Indians. But it's not something, it's something that I think is made invisible, you know, in mainstream culture. And it's something that I wanted to pull up from the sort of amnesia, you know, that happens over and over as, I mean, that's really the American way, you know, is forget and destroy.
Right, or vice versa, in both directions, destroy and forget. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you one more thing and then bring in Paula and Val, because we must. But but I wonder just about then and now. So if you're writing this in what, 2004 and that around then, and now it's 2020 and you brought this up, and you know, would you tell the story of the play in the same way when you were working on it as you do now? And if not, you know, what feels different? Obviously it feels so alive now.
I love that question because it's impossible to answer. I think that something that I don't feel that, I've said this before and I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but in some ways it feels like I didn't write it and that it just poured out.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I do think is a link between then and now is that there's just a way, I think this may have to do with growing up with Toni Morrison as a family friend and with her work. I think she's a friend to so many of us. Is that
in the same way. We don't visit her house in Nyack.
Now I'm going to cry some more thinking about her, but you know, she talks so much about working and living and being in defiance of the white gaze and how racism is a distraction, right? And I think that that's something that is, that's a characteristic of all my work, is that I'm not interested in privileging a white gaze. I'm really, and then sometimes that can get you into trouble because if white folks are running the theater, then they feel left out. Even if you're not screaming at them, they're like, you're not talking to me. So,
or if they're on the Pulitzer committee, I guess.
Right? I know, Paula, you went there. I was so glad to, I mean, you're,
yeah.
Wow, you got to talk about it.
I would love to know who those people were. I would love to meet them.
It's still, there's, I mean, it's on the internet. Okay, we'll come back to that.
So if they're out there, I'm happy.
We have the gun.
Oh gosh,
Sorry, just saying.
So, like I said, right, it's the love in the outrage, you know what I mean? And I think that there's a way in which if you're not careful, that just the water that we all drink, which is white supremacy, that can just take your life over. And but at the same time, while I might reject that, I also can embrace a white man like Sculch, right? Or a white boy like Boy, and the artists who play them, for the beautiful love that, of course, is something that we all share, you know, no matter what our skin color is.
Thank you so much. Just so you know, if you hear the sound of a dove in the background, it actually is in the background. It's in the room with me and it's making noise. Paula, talk about, please, you know, why this play for you and what it meant to you that you would go through. I mean, it feels like you, I mean, first of all, I have to just go back for a minute. Eisa, this absolutely feels to me like you didn't write it. It feels like one of those plays that comes from the earth somewhere or the heavens, you know, and you deliver it up. So I just want to say that. But Paula, so somehow it was delivered into your hands at some point and you kept it close to you and you made this thing that we're part of now, Bard at the Gate, in order to keep this play and others that mean like it to you in the world. So can you talk about what you love about it and why?
Well, first of all, I think, you know, it's something that has happened to me, which is, I think I know how to read scripts the way Bulrusher reads water. And it's interesting, when I was reading this in my apartment, I literally felt cool water running over me.
Mm.
It was such a tactile feeling. And I put the script down and went, oh my God, I have read one of the great American plays. It's the only time I've ever been asked, I don't think they'll ever ask me again, to be on a jury because, you know, I just need you to know, Eisa, everyone had a consensus on this in the room with a lot of different aesthetics. We spent the entire day together and wrestling over every script. And it was clear, it was clear, it was clear. And it's interesting, there was another woman on the jury, and we particularly were passionate about it. So I couldn't believe Monday morning when the board gave the Pulitzer to a lovely play that was Rabbit Hole. And I started thinking about it, and I did not see the production at Urban Stages. But I started thinking about, okay, where are the plays that I love being done? They're being done off Broadway on limited budgets, you know, for 3 or 4 week runs. And they might be assigned a critic who will come that has this, you know, on a whole list versus, and I'm gonna say this with colleagues that we respect, versus the MTC, the Lincoln Centers, right? And the Broadway productions that shine a light. So it was very clear to everybody in the room that day, this is a Pulitzer Prize play. This is an extraordinary voice. The way that you have translated your musicality, your singing, and the song into language is just extraordinary. So, I mean, I think I'm not sure yet. I think I might have had COVID in rehearsal at Manhattan Theater Club. And I got home to Wellfleet and I had a lot of trouble breathing. And I woke up in the morning and I went, I don't want to die before I see Bulrusher. I have told every single person. And the interesting thing is that person after person after person has been writing me going, oh my God, I love this play. This play has been done, of course, but there are so many literary managers, there's so many people who love this play and couldn't get it through the gate. So in a way, this was kind of the seedbed for, okay, let's start looking at, and a lot of these plays, as we know, this is an example of systemic racism. That's what this is. So there has to be a way that we can open up the gate. I'm not against using rage. I'm not against using guilt. I'm not against using shame. In terms of the American theater, we are failing an incredible original voice like Eisa Davis. And this could have been on a Broadway stage. This should have been on main stages, given the full attention of every theater. How would the conversation on race be today if we had this gift in our hearts? That, you know, I'm just blown away that I was crying all the way through this thing tonight. I told you I would. So that's how this happened. And I just want to thank everybody for making this happen. But I think, you know, Eisa, this play, it's vital, it's crucial, it's necessary. It is a gift that will live forever. And I just can't thank you enough because it's filled me since the first read. So that's where that comes from.
Thank you, Paula. And thank you for doing this as a successful playwright. What a gift of generosity. Your whole career has been this with your students and with everybody, of giving to everyone coming along beside you and behind you, you know.
I've had 40 years of incredible plays, and I'm very aware of the plays that don't get through the gate. And it is soul crushing to the writers who then say, you know, maybe I can do TV, maybe I can do something else. People have so many gifts. We cannot afford to lose the gift of this brilliance. So I don't know if it makes the writers I've worked with better. I've given them all Bulrusher to read. Does that make a brilliant 30-year-old, BIPOC writer feel better that, oh my God, this play didn't get on Broadway or didn't get the Pulitzer? I don't know if that makes it feel better. But if we're going to reopen our theaters, we better reopen our hearts. I can't envision a better gift in this moment of time than saying to everybody, come and see Bulrusher. So sorry, I'm getting on the soapbox, so I'm going to step back.
Wonderful. I want to turn to Val and then open up to the cast as well, and then questions. I'm just, as we're sitting here, I'm thinking of a couple other people, Val, because in a way you've bookended this play, I think, by directing that earlier, if not first, workshop at Jaw West in Portland, and then, if not the most recent, certainly a most recent production at Intiman Theater last year, right, 2019. And then I think about, Leah Gardner, who directed that beautiful Urban Stages, Marion McClinton, the late Marion McClinton, his production at Pillsbury House in Minneapolis is legendary there too. So I think, in the bookends between Valerie Curtis-Newton and Valerie Curtis-Newton, you've made space for many other people. And I'm just so excited you're here, I can't tell you. I just wonder about that question of how does the play look to you now? And what do you think about then as well?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in our pre-conversation, that the issues of representation and intersectionality ring differently now than they did in 2004, right? The advocacy and self-definition and actually people being really serious and fierce about declaring their identities was not the case in 2004. In many ways, we were just glad to be able to be in the same room talking, that we didn't make such a big fuss about our boundaries and identities. What I loved about the play then and still love about it now is that it does what Eisa talked about, not center the white gaze. And yet it allows these people to live in a world in which whiteness impacts them. That Vera comes from where she comes from, where lynching and rape are the tools of racism, where she comes from. And that Bulrusher has a part of, actually both parts of her identity invalidated by erasure, by people ignoring that she is different. They actually make her invisible, except when they choose to insult her. But most of the time, she's just invisible, an outcast on the edges of things. And to be able to live in that world, and then ultimately to figure out how to make your boundary, and how not to let the rage eat you, which is what the two girls do in the play. They learn how not to let the rage eat them up. When the line comes, it's one of my favorite, "I can't undo my hurt by making more." That's one of those things that, now that I'm getting older and I'm practicing my elderhood, that's one of those kinds of quotes that I share with younger people. You can't let your hurt you can't undo it by making more. Figuring out how to love through it. This piece, and Todd, I'm insanely in love with Alice Childress's work, but all of it encourages us to stay in the room across our difference and talk through the difficult things and say our truths and hear hard truths and still continue to communicate, which is why theater is so important in the world and why we can't let it die be killed by COVID or be killed by white supremacy. The idea that we can stick in the room and have difficult conversations and be the better for it. The play, that's sort of the underlying message of the play to me. And it's the part that's been consistent, but the temperature on the conversation has shifted in the last 16 years. The temperature has changed.
Yeah, it's so interesting because as you're talking about that and the kind of the hotter temperature around asserting identity, it plays for me also against the moment when Vera and Bulrusher discover each other, because it is so innocent in a way, and it's hard to imagine a moment like that in today's world, because there is so much, distorted reflection as well as reflection.
Yeah, I think that for me, Todd, that moment, it totally got me in my inner romantic. There were no violins, but still, they see each other through the rain, and something that's turpentine starts under the skin, and they want to kiss each other all over their bodies.
Yeah.
And so how can you be a human being who loves love and not have that moment? And I got this burning, incredible desire to stage that moment, to stage the moment of Bulrusher seeing that wet paper and thinking, my God, this is the most beautiful thing ever created, and how that opened her up to a whole new world. And the way in which they initially feel like they're the same, and then as they get more clear about who they are as individuals, they realize they're not the same, which is why they go their separate ways. They ultimately they don't have the same dream, despite the fact that they share culture.
Thank you. That really opens it up too. Yeah. Oh, you romantic you.
Just give me girls kissing, and I'm good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I guess, Eisa, is there anything you want to throw in right now before we open up a little more?
This is what I want to throw in, is that I have flowers this is for the cast and for Sue and Paula and for you too, Todd. But yes, this is for you. I can't even tell you what these actors have done. You said 25 hours. It was actually more like 15 that we were together, and I know that they all did work, on their own. But I just want, right now, as an actor, you're not just an actor, you're a cinematographer, you're a prop master, you're a costume designer, you're doing lighting, you're, scrolling and trying to act at the same time. And it is a complete, the challenge is real. And they just hurdled over that and gave you something that just blew right through your screens. I mean, that's what I felt tonight. I was just, I'm so stunned by what it is that they all have accomplished. And I'm like, I sat here and just was like writing notes on things that I loved that they all did, and Sue, come on, what Sue did. So yes, I'm just thankful for all of you. I'm thankful for you, Val, for helping to create this play in 2004 when I was still trying to put it all together, and Todd for being at New Dramatists and just making a home for, I remember coming and printing Bulrusher there because I didn't have a printer,
It was probably dot matrix at the time.
Yeah, right. And then Ryan, who's somewhere on here, who edited everything together. Chris Bruce, who did the guitar. So I'm giving this over, little eucalyptus. And of course, Paula, come on, Mama Bear, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to open up to, we have a lot of people here to ask questions, and they may have questions too for the cast, but we have, Lily Webb writes, the eucalyptus heals everything. Yeah, I can smell it. If maybe just the actors who are on the Zoom with us, just a moment in rehearsal or a moment in discovering the play that you want to just shout out that was particularly meaningful to you? I'm putting you on the spot. Sydney, is that?
Well, I don't have anything on my mind, but I'm just gonna keep talking until it comes. Actually, I do have something. I had my newspaper and I was trying to figure out like, how do I make this rain situation real via Zoom? And as soon as I took this spray bottle right here and sprayed it and looked into Kara's eyes, like that was all. And trying to figure out how to translate being in a car on Zoom was just wild. But it works, I hope. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments is when Kara says, as Bulrusher, when she just says, "You gonna stay?" And then Sydney as Vera just goes. That was so beautiful. It's just so delicate and nuanced. It's gorgeous.
I had similar feelings when I first read it. Paula,
Yeah.
I feel like I ran out of my room. I like screamed to my boyfriend. I was like, yo,
Yeah.
my mind is officially blown. And like all of these questions about identity kept on coming up for me.
Yeah.
And like digging into not knowing who you are. And that just, I'm hella sensitive right now, but not knowing who you are, being surrounded by whiteness.
Yeah.
And being so connected spiritually to the earth and not understanding what that is, but following that compass, following that intuition to be led back to the river, to know, to have concrete memory of birth, to know that and still not know. And I feel like to dive, to swim in this play was such a gift as an artist. Obviously we all wish we had more time, right? But I feel like it shifted something in me, just standing in my truth.
Yeah.
You know, to know Bulrusher.
Yeah.
And to see Vera. I thought that was probably also, Valerie, probably one of the most beautiful things about the play was seeing another Black woman and finding her beautiful.
Yes.
And being told that I was beautiful. And I think I had mentioned in rehearsal, I had mentioned in rehearsal, like, when a Black woman says to another Black woman that you're beautiful, it means it's like something otherly. It's like, it's that you can't really put words to it. There's like not language for it. So I felt so moved getting to know these actors, getting to know Eisa on the page was something that was so, it was like, there's like a cosmic, colossal, vibratory vibration of like, of the water moving. And it forever lives in my spirit to even be able to read these words. So thank you, Eisa.
I think the play just keeps amplifying the many different senses of love that we eradicate or that we erase. And one of the things that I find so moving, I was talking to a friend, do I know of any other writer or any other play world that feels rueful that the two protagonists aren't lesbian I can't tell you how much that means to me. But the truth of the matter is that as women, our friendship is an incredibly romantic love. And we don't see it mirrored. We don't see it mirrored in film. We don't see it mirrored on our stages, right? And that is so important. And I'm thinking how important this play is for younger women, for girls to see how beautiful these two women are. And for whatever fear we have, how many buddy movies have we had? For God's sake.
Way too many.
I mean, you know, I enjoy a good buddy movie, but this tells an emotional truth about how we as women are mother and daughter and sister and child to each other. All of those roles have been so magnified by your performances and by the script. And I think that's one of the reasons too, that I'm never going to let go of this play. And I just hope tonight that we have more and more productions so that young women in the audience can see themselves mirrored with love. That's what you've given us.
I agree with you 100%, Paula. And I think another aspect of that love also shows in the scene with when Vera's getting her hair combed.
Yes.
Audiences love to watch that man braid that hair. And the actor who played it in the last production I did, that was her favorite scene to rehearse. She was just like, he's gonna, and he knew some things, but he got much better at it and got it done in time. But the care of it and the sensitivity of the masculine, this idea of fathers mothering, this other aspect of love, I think is really important and is in the writing. And I also, the third thing I think is, for me, the intersection of the Black and Indigenous people and figuring out a vocabulary for talking about that. That's not about why my grandmother had straight hair because she was part whatever. But that's the saying in Black community, especially. Everybody has some idea about a Native relative, and it's just surface in that way. But to actually have them have to have a reconciliation conversation and the claiming of identity, the claiming of connection, I think is really, really powerful and deeply rooted in the play.
You. We actually have a question from the house, such as it is, for Paula. But before that, to follow up on what Val has said, I do want to turn to Madame, and just hear from you too, and from Boy as well, about things moments for you.
Yeah, for me, it was reading the play for the first time and just bawling. And I'll probably cry right now too. Because I was so grateful to read a Native character written by a non-Native person that is set in the past, that was so truthful and complex, and to highlight the difficult choice that Native people had to make over a very long amount of time in the past about their identity, whether being truthful about their identity or not, because of the consequences if you did let people know that you were Native. And that still happens to this day. And we talked, invisibility came up before, and that's still something we fight with to this day too. So yeah, it felt like a reclamation, which was really powerful. And I think that a lot of people don't know about the history of having to hide who you are as a Native person because of the trauma. And then the intergenerational trauma that occurs after that because of that, and trying to reconnect to your indigeneity at some point because of that forced disconnection is all in there so brilliantly. and it touched me so much. And I was just so grateful for that.
Thank you so much. I'm struck by how much of what you were talking about, what Kara talked about, these moments like the memory of floating, the memory of that early floating, like with your word reclamation. It's like those were the things that absolutely leapt out. So it is like the play just travels from the page through you to us listening, and in these incredibly powerful cosmic moments. It really extraordinary. Thank you. Edmund, before we turn
Yeah, I'd love to just echo what everyone said, Paula and Eisa and the rest of the cast. It's so moving to me when I have the opportunity to work on something that causes that kind of reaction, particularly in a cast member where they feel that they have the opportunity to be represented in a way that they aren't frequently on a personal level. And it's truly very meaningful to me to be able to contribute in a small way to a piece that does that. And this play is just so beautiful. And in a more general way, I guess it's just so amazing that when things, on Zoom really feel like they're working theatrically, to be rehearsing it throughout, there were lots of moments to be like, wow, that really told the story, and here we are on our computers. And I've had a couple experiences on Zoom now, and each time it just feels like a small miracle. And yeah, it's just such a balm in this time when we don't get to be with each other in the same room.
Totally.
Yeah.
Between that and the eucalyptus, it's just.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like I received flowers as well.
Yeah. So here's a question from Michelle Clark.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Todd, did you want to talk to Sue? Sue is just up there hanging out.
Sure, Sue, yes, sorry.
And then the question, please.
Okay, so I think because Sue, you did so much of the work with the visuals and everything, yes? So tell us, yeah, what inspired you to make that magic, I guess? What in the play drove you?
Well, I think I work with light, and I feel like Eisa said something to me once about how she felt she didn't really write the play, and I totally understood what she said, because I feel like a lot of times I don't really make what I'm making. It just is channeled somehow. And once I got all the scenes down to just what I was working with Kara, it was just like, I don't know, she was so present, and the river was so present in the words and in the emotion in Kara's voice and just the character. It was easy. It just was like she needed to be in a place, and the place needed to be magical and mystical and kind of unpredictable, and have different personalities as she went through the play. Like I felt like she kind of started as one person at the river, and by the end, when she's at the ocean, it's like she's just a force. She's so fierce. I wanted her to make her look like a queen, like just ruling the environment and totally one with nature and not afraid of it. And it was really fun. I normally work with musicians doing like long live performances where things can be really slow to evolve, but this was like, how do I make this happen in a minute and 7 seconds, or however long those scenes were.
And those moments were astonishing, where the light changed on Bulrusher and suddenly we were there again. Really extraordinary. Thank you. So here's a question from Michelle Clark. I just want to say there are 86 people still hanging on. It's like almost 10:30 here in Brooklyn. And so that says something. So here's the question from Michelle. It's for Paula. Wait, did it get stolen? You stole it. Rosie, you stole the question, but I remember it. Or are you going to have her ask it live? I'm sorry, we're having a Zoom moment here. Okay, I'm just going to ask it.
And answered.
Oh, it was answered?
No, but look under the answer tab.
Oh, under the answer tab, answer live.
I think they moved it when you mentioned Michelle's name. So
that's
go
what
ahead
happened.
and ask
Thank
it.
you. Okay, thank you for guiding me, Eisa. and Val. So Michelle says, Paula, was your affection for this play an influence on your rain scene in Indecent?
Yes, yes it was. And yes, it wasn't the rain scene. What I remembered as I sat down was, how can I make the love these two women feel for each other as innocent as the love that Vera and Bulrusher feel? I did think that. And one of the reasons I've got this bee in my bonnet is I feel that this play made me a better playwright. And the most important thing that theater can do is open up that conversation so that we all become better artists. Because until this is in my vocabulary, do you know what I mean? Until this is in my blood, I don't even know, I don't think I would have, I wanted the women to float. That's what I kept saying as I wrote it. I want these women to float because there's a floating feeling about Bulrusher. So the answer is yes. And I want to thank you about that. And I want all of the writers that I love to have access to this, because I have to say, as much as I love the script, Eisa, boy, now that I've seen these artists create this, it brought dimensions of the script that, quite frankly, I didn't get on the page. Like, I didn't get how much I now love Boy. I now love Boy in such an incredible way. And
that's quite a revelation after all these years, Paula.
Well, so yes, I just want to say that, but let's talk about Bulrusher. So thanks for the question. Yes, it was an influence.
That's amazing. Eisa, you want to say anything about that?
I'm just gobsmacked because I saw Indecent twice, and I'm thinking about how I'm influenced by the sand running out of everyone's hands. I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah, but the current of the river comes from you. And that's what we should be doing as artists. So this is why I'm so grateful to you, and I'm still pissed at the board of the Pulitzer. We got to turn the current on this play so that everybody gets to see artists of this caliber doing this. I think this is a transformational work of art. I really do. I'm glad I got so much from the page. It's all there, but I got it amplified 100-fold by these actors and by Sue, what you did. I just have to tell you, by the way, someone earlier on said, where was this production done? Watching your work, your visual work, they literally thought that they were watching a production, which is what it felt like. So.
And the chat all night have been just like amazing, magnificent, miraculous. So great. A couple more and then we'll let everybody go because it is getting late. Although I just want to like hold this moment of like the water and the sand, the sort of like mutual influence of these two extraordinary artists and pieces.
I'm glad to be living in the same time as Eisa. I'm just glad. I mean, there is a lot, and I think that for everybody who saw this, to see this talent, who doesn't want to go rushing to your computer and write? Because we've seen these actors tonight, So that's all. That's my flowers. I didn't think to buy you flowers, but that's my flowers to all of you.
Or go rushing to Eisa's computer and see what she's writing.
I know. Yes.
This is from Amy Handelsman. She says, I love this play. How did these Southern folks get to Mendocino to begin with? I take that to be a sort of historical question. Do you know, Eisa?
They took a train. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah, took a train. Or, Dust Bowl, continued like Grapes of Wrath. It's just, That's what happened is, yeah, people rolled on out. And and of course, you know, someone like Madame has already been there, and her people have already been there. But yeah, it's something, you know, it's just part of the Great Migration, you know, the book Caste that's out, and Isabel Wilkerson's work in Warmth of Other Suns is, you know, talking about that Great Migration movement, you know, from the South to the West for Black folks. And then, of course, you know, the white folks who settled, Russian, German, and there's of course Chinese and Mexican. It's all there. It's just like what California is now. Yeah.
For the Black folks, the Great Migration is a lot of trying to outrun Jim Crow. And the notion was that the West Coast didn't have Jim Crow. Like somehow Jim couldn't travel that far. So people went there expecting it to be
great line.
really, really different.
Know them separately, but
Know them separately, would it? Yeah.
Yeah, right. And of course, I mean, there's that history in Oregon that Blacks were not allowed, you know, to live in Oregon. So I wanted to really try to draw that kind of, I mean, what you were speaking about, Val, you know, so astutely, is that difference in how race is experienced on the West Coast versus, you know, the Southeast and Northeast. But that it just always works in a different way. Sometimes the violence is imperceptible, but it's about, you know, by being blotted out.
Eisa, your family's from Birmingham, yeah? Your grandmother.
My mother is, her parents both are from Alabama. Yeah, from the country. And that is that whole when you were talking about, oh, my grandmother has straight hair or whatever, that's fully in, you know, my history, where my great grandfather's some white dude. We're not sure if it's this lawyer guy or this other sharecropper guy who lived next door to my great grandmother, who also was supposed to be Native. I don't know. But actually, I think we might find out soon, because, you know, that whole Finding Your Roots show?
Skips?
Yes. There, it was supposed to happen at the end of March with Angela Davis, my aunt. It's supposed to happen. So then I think we're going to find out what really went down, because Skip's going to tell us.
Zoom it out so we know. I mean, just let us know when it's playing so we can all know at the same time. Here's a question for you, Eisa, from Jacqueline Jones Lamont. Such beautiful work. Poetry takes on a life of its own in this play. And let's make this be the last one. And weaves its way through the characters and the movement of the action. In what ways did you see the poetry as its own character, as a way of being for this world? Wow, what a great question.
That is a beautiful question. And it comes from a poet. Jackie is a Cave Canem fellow. And I think all of us who love music, who love nature, who love theater, love the poetry in it. And I want to do my obeisance to Adrienne Kennedy, who's a mentor of mine, and someone obviously who also has gotten stopped up at the gate at many points in her career, and hopefully she'll be on Broadway soon. This is my hope, because anything should happen right now.
Yes.
But she talks about her plays as poems, and that was something that has always stuck with me. And obviously, you know, the poetry of Shakespeare, as you mentioned, the poetry of, you know, and August Wilson, the poetry of, as I said, Rita Dove and the poet I, the late poet I, they helped me to hear how to tap into this source where all poetry comes from. And that's what I was trying to write down.
Thank you. Well, it seems from what everybody is saying, you did it. Um,
I want to thank you, Todd. I want to thank everyone who's participated. Valerie, thank you so much. I mean, you've just been shepherding such amazing work, and we've been getting your gifts for so long. Thank you, thank you. I'm so thrilled to listen to you on this shared love. I think we may have a private party to go, but for those who are still with us, please tell everyone this is up on YouTube until Sunday night. So please let everybody know. If you happen to know an artistic director, particularly, please ask them to dial in again. And here's hoping that, you know, at some point Valerie may think, oh, maybe it's time to do another Bulrusher production, which would be grand and great. So I want to thank everybody. The next show on Bard at the Gate is a play that has not been produced, and people have told me that it's not possible to produce. Origin Story by Dan LaFranc, which is an extraordinary script. That will be up on October 7th. And we finish this season. There may be another and several more, because it's occurring to me that we need to rediscover what's right in front of our faces. The remarkable playwrights out there that are not getting their due sunshine and recognition and love, but also to rediscover our ancestors that we must not forget. So we will finish this up on October 29th with a reading of Christina Anderson's Good Goods, where we hopefully will perform an exorcism for America before Election Day. So thank you all. Thank you for tonight. Hope everybody stays safe. Give a prayer for the West Coast. Take care. See you.